Rapid fire, yeah! Welcome to the first episode of my new project, The Rapid Fire 5. And this is just kind of like a side series or just videos that I'm going to do in a slightly different format. I came up with this to run alongside my main episodes, which, I'm still going to be doing. Anyways, that decision was due to the relative success of my top 20 video, which, by the standards of this channel anyways, has been performing really well, because I guess more people tend to like lists, which I can identify with, and people also seem to like episodes that feature multiple games, not just going in depth on a single game. So anyways, don't worry if you like my more in-depth episodes. That's still mostly what I'm going to be doing on this channel. I just thought I'd mix things up a little bit and try to do one of these compilation videos like every 4 or 5 weeks, because it seems like people respond to this sort of format. For now, at least, these are all going to be games that I've done full episodes on. So I'm just going to take those games and summarize them like I did with my top 20. Also, if I already talked about a game in my top 20, even as an honorable mention, then you won't see it here. So with all of that blah blah out of the way, let's get started. First we have Akane. The entire game takes place in a single arena that is about 4 screens in size. You kill 100 enemies, and then you have to defeat a boss. Repeat that cycle 5 times, and you beat the game, which will probably never happen because you die in a single hit from anything. This is one of the very few games that I've reviewed without finishing, and you might see another one that fits that criteria in this same episode. So anyway, if Akane is that difficult, do I recommend it? Yes, actually I do. So long as it's not the only game that you're playing. It's a really good little side game to have around, and at $5 or oftentimes just $2 on sale, the price is definitely right. If it seems like something you'd like, or if you're an aspiring developer who wants an example of a fairly successful and well-known minimalist game, then Akane could really be worth checking out for you. All right, moving on. Game number 2 on today's list, and I'm just going in alphabetical order here, so these aren't in any kind of order of preference necessarily. Anyway, game number 2 is Asphalt 9, which is a pretty darn good-looking and playing racing game that is absolutely free to download. There are some microtransactions, but they aren't strictly necessary. I played this game every day for months, so I did pump a little bit of money into it eventually to support the developers, but honestly, I'm pretty sure they're doing just fine. So if you kind of like racing games, but maybe not enough to actually shell out the cash for one, this is really a pretty nice option. And if you don't like it, hey, it's free, so you're not out anything. Number 3 in alphabetical order on today's list is Astral Chain, which features a really strong presentation in both the visual and audio departments, with the exception of some significant camera issues, which seems to be a pretty consistent problem for developer Platinum Games, in my opinion. Most of their games have wonky camera issues that a lot of people are able to look over. I am not, really, except for in a few rare instances. Anyways, also worth noting, the story and dialogue feature more prominently than you might expect, which could have been a really good thing, except I didn't care at all about the cardboard cutout generic characters in this game. So basically, this one, for me, and there's definitely going to be people that disagree with this, the game has its fans. Platinum Games as a company has its loyal fans, but Astral Chain is a firm avoid for me, unless you're a huge fan of both Platinum Games and kind of generic anime characters. It's a shame, too, because honestly, the combat could have been... It really had potential. It really did. But anyways, look, if you happen to be interested, Astral Chain sells on the eShop for $60, which is just don't. Just don't. That's way too much. Get it, like, if this for some reason strongly appeals to you, like, get it on sale. It just isn't a $60 game, in my opinion. So moving quickly on to number 4 in alphabetical order is Battle Axe, which again features an excellent presentation, although this time it's in the style of a 90s arcade game with graphics very reminiscent of the Neo Geo or maybe the Game Boy Advance. Battle Axe is kind of like Gauntlet mixed with Zombies Ate My Neighbors. You'll navigate top-down worlds with both long-range and melee attacks. You're going to rescue people. You're going to find your way to some pretty cool-looking boss sprites. And that's kind of an understatement. Like, the bosses, honestly, in this game are pretty awesome-looking, in my opinion. It also has just a little bit of 90s arcadey voice work, which I love. That's a really nice touch that really makes that retro experience feel authentic. However, the game is pretty hard. And part of that, unfortunately, has to do with a camera that is zoomed in too close to really get a good view of the surrounding threats. And as I just mentioned with Astral Chain, bad camera work is pretty hard for me to overlook just because it impacts the overall feel and experience so much. Okay, but Battle Axe does feature couch co-op, which is always a welcome feature. It's a really good time, 2-player. So despite that, because of its flaws, I wouldn't really recommend it, but there will probably be some who, like I said, don't mind the camera issue as much as I do. Maybe. Battle Axe retails for $30, which is like kind of the nail in the coffin for this one. Like, that's just unfortunately way too much for a game that features 4 levels, if I remember correctly. It's, once you figure it out, it's a pretty short game, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. But look, if this one were maybe $10, I might recommend that you give it a shot despite its flaws. But $30 for this is just unreasonable in my opinion, despite some of the game's stronger points. So anyways, finally, the last game on today's Rapid Fire 5 is Battle Princess Madeline. My episode on this game is one of my better performing videos, despite the fact that it was pretty early on in my show's history, and therefore even more rough around the edges, if you can imagine. And this is another one of the very few games that I've ever reviewed on my channel where I did an episode without actually completing the game. And I haven't done that in a long time. I pretty much stopped doing that. But look, I think it's about 85 videos on my channel at the time that I'm writing this, and maybe 5 of those games I didn't finish. And I always, I'm always transparent with my viewers about which games I did not see to completion, just so you know that maybe I don't have the full perspective on them. But I certainly get a pretty good sense of the game before I go babbling about it on YouTube. Anyways, for Battle Princess Madeline, much like its obvious inspiration, Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever, it has its fans. I just don't happen to be among them in either case. Someone in the comments for the video said that they didn't think that Battle Princess is as difficult as Ghouls and Ghosts. And I suppose, I guess, if you're a real connoisseur of that series, then maybe that's true. But to be totally honest, I really couldn't tell the difference in the difficulty level. It felt pretty comparable to me. 2 hits and you're dead. That's rough, man, I'm telling you. If you're up to the challenge, first of all, I laugh in your general direction. Unless you've actually finished the game, in which case I bow in your general direction. Anyways, it sells for $20 on the eShop, and like I said, only bother if you're a Ghosts and Goblins fan. Otherwise, you would probably do well to steer clear. And that does it for this one. Thanks for watching the first episode of my Rapid Fire 5 series. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you'll click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the other videos on my channel. They tend to be a little slower paced, but some people seem to like them. Anyways, thank you for watching. and I'll see you guys next time, whenever that may be. Bye-bye.